Hello, this is Julia Davis of Yoga Teachers Forum, and I'm here with Dianne Murphy of MetaMind, and we are going to be collaborating on a workshop looking at grounded practices connected to Muladhara Chakra. Good afternoon, Dianne.
Afternoon, Julia. Very hot day.
It is indeed. So I'd love to chat to you about how you came to first learn about Muladhara Chakra and how grounded practices have shown up in your life.
My word, what a question. Where did I first learn about it? I would say probably way back as far as 1998, 99. But I think actually I probably encountered chakras even before that, probably in my as early as my teens. I was always very, very kind of interested in sort of subtle energies, I think, even before I came into being interested in yoga. And then obviously through yoga, you learn so much more about them. Going on several short courses as well as the long courses, you know, the 200 hours are great because they always cover the chakras in a good amount of detail. But, you know, my own study, going off and doing workshops and things, in terms of using it in my own practice, from a teaching point of view, I think, because I've done a lot of teaching with teenagers, so starting there by actually helping the teenagers feel grounded and secure and supported, especially at a time when their lives are at such huge flux and stress, giving them that grounded through Muladhara chakra work can be so supportive for them. That idea of home and security, family, connections, it all kind of starts and stems from that Muladhara chakra, as does the start of our practice, I think. You know, even when we're working at those very, very early stages with Annamaya Kosha, that gross physical body, we work thinking about how we're connecting with the posture, connecting with the ground in order to find that stability that then lets us find the flexibility and the flow within each of the asana. My own practice, I'm constantly coming at it. I mean, now, especially more than ever, you know, I've spent so much time on the computer, everything's been up here in my head, that the importance of finding space and time to ground, to connect. And a big one for me, which I think some people might not say is yoga, but it does sort of extend with the idea that yoga is more than just the third limb, is I have an allotment. And I go to that allotment, I turn off my computer, I turn off my phone, and it's me and the earth in the present moment. And there is something so nurturing and so healing about that experience that there are times when it's far more yoga than when I'm running through a whole 90-minute sequence of asana. So, you know, pretty important. What about you?
So as far as chakras go, one of my formative teachers, Barbara Joseph, would always teach through chakras. So for however many years I was with her, she would start with the root chakra and carry on. So it was very much a language that felt familiar in my body in the practices. And I knew what those practices were that connected to the root. And I've become kind of more and more familiar with the feeling of when I need to be grounded. And what connecting to the earth means for me now is maybe slightly different to what it meant many years ago when I first, and it was really very early on in my practice that I became aware of it. And now it's about noticing where I'm at and what my personal needs are. And as the years have gone by, I've really noticed that many classes can be not even formulaic, but we're kind of following a theme or something's happening in the class. And the strength of character that's actually needed to say to myself, you know what, I've got my bleed today. I'd like to be with other people, that's how I feel. So I'm going to maybe go to a class, but in that space, I'm going to do what feels right for my own body. And that really connects me to the root chakra, to doing, to being grounded, to be with myself. And as a teacher, that's what I feel is really important as far as grounding is concerned, is that how do you feel in your body today? What does your body need? Does it need what's being shared with you right now? Am I going to choose to do a vigorous practice on a hot sunny day when I kind of feel, or maybe a day like today would be a day for moving into the parts of my body that need releasing out because it's hot. So I'm more likely to be able to release out. And that is absolutely connected to me and my groundedness and my root. Because if I'm out of my groundedness, then I might do something that someone else has asked me to do that doesn't feel right for me, rather than doing what feels right. And another part of being rooted is, at the moment, I'm working with the movement to eradicate the abuse of women in yoga, which is heady stuff and emotional. It's very, what should I be doing? And very passionate work. And this morning I was talking to some people about how to empower the movement and how to bring that work out into the world. And what I needed to do after that was ground myself. Like you did with your allotment, I went barefoot in my garden, and I came in and I practiced a breathing practice that helped ground me and give me space so that I could come and talk to you this afternoon.
Yeah, it goes on several levels, doesn't it? And it's that first thing I think of, because we talk about the root chakra with home, and it's being at home inside your own body first and foremost, isn't it? Because the walls around us can change, but being at home within our own bodies. And that's going to help on so many levels. And also as well, in the same way that we might redecorate our home because we no longer need this color on our walls or whatever, we find that how we connect and how we utilize with the root chakra changes within ourselves as well as we change, So it's that wonderful idea that even though things don't have to stay exactly the same for us to find that support, that place where we feel at home, and that's within ourselves. But also as well, the one thing that we all seem to come to, both of us, with the root chakra is the importance of connecting with nature. I think seems to be a really important feature.
And we're going to be sharing a workshop together, Dianne and I, on the 8th of July from 9:30 to 11:30, looking into the root chakra. And we had a lovely chat about what we might include in the workshop. And in that is a mixture of how we can bring the root chakra into our own lives and how that translates in our yoga space, in the space that we practice our physical practices, and how we share that with others. So do you want to mention a couple of things that we might be sharing?
I know we talked for so long that we ended up with such a list. It could have been like a very, very long workshop. So we had to kind of think very, very carefully. Oh boy, can we talk when the two of us get going. But I think we're kind of talking along the idea that it first has to start with feeling grounded yourself as a teacher. We always talk about, only teach what you know. So if you are going to teach and bring in an element of groundedness within your teaching that you're offering to your students, it's important to connect that with yourself. So I know we're certainly going to be looking at that, developing a little bit more understanding of what the chakra is itself. I know we talked because my background was as an art teacher in secondary schools for a long time, so I can kind of be a very visual person. So we said we'd actually have a look at some of the symbolism behind the mandalas, which I think is going to bring a new interesting layer in that perhaps people might not have come across before. I know we said we wanted it to be experiential and we were going to share that between us. Yeah, you can hear so much about the root chakra, but I think until you experience it, especially because it's so subjective, the way you feel it in your own body. So we're going to be sharing our offering of that and allowing anybody that comes along to this workshop to experience it themselves through what we're going to be delivering and talking about. What are we going to add to that, Julia?
Yeah, it's a little bit of, not theory, well, yes, theory. Like, where does Muladhara come from? What does it look like in Sanskrit? What's the color associated with that? And actually, like you said, you're an artist, and there is, it's lovely to bring in creativity. I love sound and have worked with the sound of Muladhara chakra, and that also adds to that feeling. In the end of the day, we're kind of yoga passion people, so we find our groundedness by going to the allotment and going out walking, but we also find our groundedness and in our love of yoga practice and knowledge around yoga. So that is in there. And then practices like, maybe we all know, maybe we don't all know, that balancing practices are grounding practices, but playing with what those balances are. And actually, I remember when we were chatting, I was like, ooh, there's loads of partner work that you can do. And then I was like, we're in a world where we're not in a place where we can touch. But that also is or something that we can kind of delve into without maybe after we've turned our Zoom off, we can go and find a wall and use it to help us, support us if we're on our own. Or I think that everyone's allowed some level of connecting with someone now, so we can practice balancing with the person or people that we can be with. But having the support of those around us and creating a community that supports us is a key part of that. And that was a reason behind creating Yoga Teachers Forum, is we are basically sole practitioners as yoga teachers, and we need a community to support us as we practice. So
I was just going to say, actually, there's so many ways that we can connect even without being able to touch somebody physically. And I think that's becoming, especially in these, how do everybody phrase it, these strange new times we find ourselves. I think that's going to be a really important thing. And then as teachers as well, simple things like, I know so many teachers who they sort of run off to one class, do that here, they run off to the next class and do that then, and fit in a few one-to-one clients in between, and they very, very quickly exhaust themselves and burn out. They give too much of themselves. So part of it is, as a teacher, learning to take those moments both before you teach a lesson and afterwards, just to give yourself that space to ground yourself there before you give yourself into teaching your lesson for whatever it is, and then again at the end to close that back down. Because as teachers, we do give so much of ourselves and we're like pouring it out of our hearts, that it's actually, I think, really, really important as teachers to take that time to just give yourself a few moments to ground, to connect, to come back home to yourself. Dash off to the next teaching class.
As teachers, we absolutely need to look after ourselves, and we know that yoga teaching is, for the vast majority of us, a very low paid practice, and we need to balance our need to nurture ourselves. And at the most fundamental level, that could be being able to pay the rent, being able to feed ourselves. And if teaching yoga exclusively does not give us that security, then we're not going to have the groundedness to be able to share. And that's the lesson that some of us learn the hard way. So absolutely, it really is that. So I would encourage anyone who feels that they might be interested in Muladhara chakra, or they're not sure, if you're not sure how your yoga business is working, these are challenging times, and simply want to root yourself or be with other yoga teachers that really understand the massive challenges that we are facing. I've got my lovely empty yoga studio behind me. There might be a very
I miss it.
I'm not crying every day about that now. But it's a challenging time for us, and if we can give, and we will give space for all of us to be with our experiences and be with what Muladhara Chakra can do for us.
Couldn't have put it better myself, Julia.
So just to remind you, we'll put a link below so that you can join us, but it's the 8th of July, 9:30 till 11:30. We would love for you to join us, and thank you so much.
Absolutely love it.
Thank you, Dianne.
Oh, thank you, Julia. Hopefully we will see you people there on the 8th of July.